folks, I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome back to Best of Publishers. This is a series where I talk about the best games from different publishers, and today we're taking a look at Z-Man Games. Z-Man was started by Zev Schlesinger, thus the Z in the company name, and he ran it by himself for a while. He had a few small card games, and then eventually started getting into board games, started bringing board games over from Europe, because at the time when he started doing it, pretty much only Rio Grande and Mayfair were doing it. Z-Man started doing it, and time went by, and eventually Z-Man, he was publishing like 50 games a year at one point. So many different games. Many of them were not that good, but many were really good, especially a few, like Pandemic. He partnered with Lookout Games and got Agricola, brought that over, which was a huge thing for his company too. And eventually, he sold his company to F2Z Entertainment. Zev has since left that company. F2Z Entertainment is now working with WizKids, and then F2Z got bought by Asmodee. So Z-Man Games then absorbed Wind Rider Games from Asmodee and is now a division of Asmodee Games. So that's all a little bit confusing. How do I pick the games for this list? So what I did was I cut out the Lookout Games, because I've already done a list for Lookout Games. You can go look at those. And I've also cut out any games. Rio Grande had a lot of licenses to different games. Z-Man picked up some of those licenses over the years. So any game that might have been Rio Grande originally, I cut out. I tried to put on here mostly original games to Z-Man, or some games that I don't think will be on other lists for various reasons. So with that being said, here are my 10 favorite games from Z-Man. Number 10, Duel in the Dark. You may never have heard of this game. Came out, was gone kind of in a flash, but it's a different kind of game. The theme is that one player is playing an English bomber who's bombing Germany in World War II. Now that sounds like a war game, but it's really not. The player with English, who's playing the English player, is kind of basically programming their bomber to fly a certain way, and then the German player is trying to put things in different areas, trying to guess where the English player is going to go. It's kind of like a deduction game, and you're going back and forth. I think it didn't do very well because people who like war games were like, this is not a war game, and people who like deduction games are turned off by the theme. But if you kind of like both, it really does a good job at mixing those together. Number 9 is Thunder and Lightning. Now this is a reprint of Hera and Zeus from Cosmos, but this reprint is amazing, beautiful, wonderful. It is a two-player game back and forth. One person's playing Hera and one person is playing Zeus, and you are kind of playing a card game version of Stratego. It's really, the cards are beautiful, the artwork's gorgeous, but there's cards in your hand and cards there, and you're trying to find the flag or the one card from someone else. It might be in their hand, it might be there. You attack, you turn over 2 cards and numbers, the higher number wins, but there's special abilities. It's a really well-designed, unique game. There's nothing else really like it. Number 8 is Shadowhunters. Shadowhunters was the game I think that kind of helped start the whole hit and roll type thing, because before Shadowhunters there really wasn't a lot. Bang was the big game. Everybody was playing Bang. Who's the sheriff? Well, we know who the sheriff is. Who are the deputies? Who are the outlaws? Who's the renegade? Well, in Shadowhunters, it was a very similar thing where some people were shadow creatures, other people were hunters, and other people were neutral people that had different things. Like one guy, Bob, just wants to die in this game. And so you're attacking each other, you find different weapons, you're using deduction to figure out who each other is. It's very Japanese, the theming and everything, and it's also a little wonky, which I think is why you don't see it played much today, but it was very enjoyable. Shadowhunters. Number 7 is Magical Athlete. Now this may be just me, right? This game looks awful. It is essentially a game where you roll a die and move athletes around, and the first person to get to the finish line wins. It sounds terrible, and it is kind of terrible, except each athlete has special powers which change everything up, and there's a kind of a drafting phase before the game starts to get these athletes. I love it. It's so much fun. It's hilarious. It's like trashy fun for me. It's still my collection. Great game, Magical Athlete. Well, great fun game, I guess. I don't know that I can use great to describe it. Number 6 is Reef Encounter. Now, Reef Encounter is a game that was originally from Frankendorse, who did all different games. Oh man, this game was beautiful. It was beautiful. You have this reef and you're building the reef up and then using your fish to eat parts of the reef up. A really cool. Z-Man's production was really nice. The original production was beautiful. The Z-Man reprint was also beautiful, but this game is not just a pretty game. It's mean, it's vicious. It's very similar to Tigris and Euphrates, actually. Just a really well put together production. Highly recommend it. Number 5 is Pandemic. come on, I got to put Pandemic on the list. Pandemic, which has sold over 1 million, maybe 2 million copies. There's a lot of Pandemics out there. And of course, it's spawned expansions, a dice game, a game where you are the viruses, Pandemic Legacy, which of course is very, very popular. And I could have put Pandemic Legacy on this list too. I guess maybe I'm crowding them together. I really do like Pandemic Legacy a lot. I like Pandemic Legacy better than Pandemic, but I like the story. But either way, Pandemic is an amazing game. It is a cooperative game. It's probably the cooperative game that was just pure straight cooperative, really brought cooperative to the masses. Shadows over Camelot did so, but it had that trader aspect. Pandemic doesn't have that trader aspect unless you play the stupid part of that expansion where one person's a bioterrorist. Either way, I've had such great success with this, so Pandemic and Pandemic Legacy. Maybe Pandemic Legacy would be higher, but we'll see. Number 4 is Russian Railroads. Russian Railroads is a very thinky Euro strategy game where you are using worker placement to build different railroad lines out. And then each turn you get points, and your points are going up higher and higher, and you're trying to find the most efficient way to get points over the course of a game. It's a brain burner. It's very close to not even feeling like a railroad game at all, but I really like it. I don't know what it is. It's fun to watch your railroad system build up and see how many points you score each turn. And it has a good expansion, German railroads, and I hear that the American railroads is also very good. Number 3 is Tales of Arabian Nights. Tales of Arabian Nights is a storytelling game in which you are going through all the different things that happen in Tales of Arabian Nights. But what's really cool is it comes with a giant book of choose your own adventure type thing. So in this game, you come across a beggar and you have to decide, are you going to give money to him? Are you going to beat him? It's not like 2 choices. You have like 8 choices. Are you going to ignore him? Are you going to help him? Each thing you come across has all these different choices, and it's really it's crazy, it's random, you're never sure what's going to happen next, but it really makes an entertaining and fun game. It has more randomness than I would normally be happy with in a game. But the storytelling is so strong and really kind of destroys any other storytelling game still to this point. The writing is really well done. Number 2 is No Thanks. No Thanks, this was a card game. It is now underneath Mayfair, but Z-Man was the one for me that made it very popular. No Thanks is just this great game in which you have a card in the middle and you have to decide to take that card, which is worth points, and you don't want points, or throw a chip on it and not take it. If you have no chips, you're out of luck. And if you take a card, you get all the chips on it. It's a simple system, works well in so many situations. And my favorite game currently from Z-Man Games, although like I said, maybe Pandemic Legacy could shoot up here at any point in time, but my favorite game is Voyages of Marco Polo. Marco! Okay, no one's saying anything. All right, anyhow, Voyages of Marco Polo, you are playing different explorers who are going around, and Voyages of Marco Polo is so interesting because you're going to roll dice and use those dice and dice placement, which I love, and you're going to place those dice in different spots, get resources, move your guy around, conquer cities, not conquer cities, but establish trading posts in cities and things. Really cool game. But each person has a special ability in this game which feels like it's game breaking. I mean, they're powerful special abilities, but everyone has one. And everyone else's is better than yours. Except everyone else thinks yours is the best too. It's really neat. I love the combination. Everything comes together. Really, really great game. So those are my favorite games from Z-Man Games. It's kind of like I said, a weird company. You know, I could have put Agricola, Le Havre, Carcassonne, other games, but I tried to concentrate on ones that were just Z-Man or just Z-Man and one other publisher. Either way, they're fantastic. Tell me in the comments what your favorite Z-Man game is. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel. It's been Best of Publishers, Z-Man Games.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.